Hi y'all, Tracey, Trials of Long Haired Girl here. We are back for another Food for Thought Friday. Wanted to take a minute and just kind of explain between everything that kind of was going on at the end of the year. It was a little overwhelming, and so I did not get back to filming, but I did want to continue with this process because I feel like it's important, and I was kind of hearing the Lord tell me that I wasn't finished. Kind of what we're going to talk about today, I'm really kind of straying again from what I had on my list of things that I was going to do next. But given that we are at the beginning of the year, and this is a time that people will typically make resolutions or set goals, I just wanted to kind of remind us that we don't need to compare ourselves with others. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. But, you know, even aside from that, the Bible speaks to comparing ourselves to others. And I just wanted to take a minute and go through some of those. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone and then I will read. Proverbs 14:30 says, "A peaceful heart leads to a healthy body. Jealousy is like a cancer in the bones." So, you know, in that scripture, and I'm reading out of the NLT, that scripture is basically saying that if you are looking at other people and thinking about how you can do the same routine as them and you may get the same results, that's not necessarily the case. But if we start comparing ourselves to others and to others' journeys, that kind of starts becoming a jealousy, and it can be a bad thing. And I know there's a lot of people who will post, and I have been one of them and will be one of them again, that are sharing their journeys to try to help keep themselves accountable. And I applaud that. I don't see a problem with that, but the problem comes if we start comparing ourselves to other people and trying to do the same thing, or perhaps we are hating a body part for, you know, reasons that don't really make a lot of sense, you know, just because your arms don't look like somebody else's, or your legs don't look like somebody else's. We need to be happy in our own bodies, and I think when we're happy in our own bodies, our bodies will react in a more positive manner, if that makes sense. If you hate your body just for the point of hating your body or a specific body part, it can cause other problems. I also wanted to read 2 Corinthians 10:12. "Oh, don't worry. We wouldn't dare say that we are as wonderful as these other men who tell you how important they are. But they are only comparing themselves with each other, using themselves as a standard of measurement. How ignorant." So comparing ourselves to other people, we may be in a different place in our journey than they are in theirs. And you don't know. Some people now are using a GLP-1 and are having good luck with that. Other people can't use that. You know, but no matter what tool you're using, you have to use what's available to you. And then also Galatians 6:4. Pay careful attention to your own work, for then you will get satisfaction of a job well done, and you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else. And then 1 Corinthians 12:27. All of you together are Christ's body, and each of you is a part of it. Here are some of the parts God has appointed for the church. First are apostles, second are prophets, third are teachers. Then those who do miracles, those who have the gift of healing, those who can help others, those who have the gift of leadership, those who speak in an unknown language. So we're each given our own gift and our own direction, our own path to go down. And comparing ourselves to others, they may not have the same gift, they may not have the same path or the same journey. They may not, be given that same exact thing. And as I've said before, we're all unique. God made us each different. And while I look like my mom in a lot of ways, and sometimes act like my mom in a lot of ways, my mom and I were not exactly alike. I could not step into her shoes in a lot of ways because the good Lord did not make us exactly the same. But He gave us some similar attributes. And just because somebody may have the same skill as you, they may not, or same training as you, they don't bring the same things to the table. So you comparing yourself to somebody else, they don't have your same genes, your same DNA, your same issues. I personally dealt with endometriosis. That was pretty severe. But I don't know that, for instance, my cousin would have the same situation. I've had family members who have fought with their weight, family members who don't really fight with their weight as much as me. I went from being a very small and skinny child to being an overweight child because of anxiety. And these are things that I'm trying to work on. But me comparing myself to to somebody else on a weight loss journey does me a disservice. I do a disservice to myself because I'm comparing myself to them. They may not be in the same place as me in their journey. I may not be in the same place as them. And we may not be going down the same path. Even when I was doing Weight Watchers, the way I did Weight Watchers may not have been exactly the same way that somebody else did Weight Watchers, because they may not have, counted certain 0-point foods that I did count. Or, Weight Watchers has had multiple incarnations of programs, some that work for people, some that don't. And it's all about your body and finding what works for your body. Don't compare yourself to somebody else. Don't compare yourself to somebody that you think may even be doing the same thing as you, because their body may give them different results. Their body may react differently than yours does. But even besides that, just your ability to, for instance, take pictures, draw. I have family members, including my cousin that passed away, who were excellent artists, could draw beautifully. They had a gift in that regard. I have never felt like I had the gift of art. I felt like that was not my thing. So I was watching a video. Imagine that. I was watching videos on YouTube and I saw something about texture art. And so I tried that and I enjoyed it greatly. And then I started seeing something that was unexpected, which I'll kind of go into a little more in a different video. But I saw an artist who was talking about the fact that if we're bringing God into everything, like into our lives, why do we not invite him in whatever craft we're doing? Whether it's art or, being creative in some other way, or photography, or, crochet, knitting. These are talents I don't have either. I can crochet some, but I've never knitted. But why would I compare myself to somebody who's been crocheting for decades or knitting for decades when I'm still very much a beginner in that regard? That's just going to make me feel bad about myself. Could cause me to get depressed. Why would I do that? So comparison can take away, we've all heard it said that comparison is the thief of joy, and it really is. It really is the thief of joy. And I don't want my joy taken away because I'm comparing myself to somebody else. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I've rambled on, and for that, don't compare yourself to others. Let's support each other, hold each other accountable, but don't compare ourselves to others, because my husband may be able to drop 5 pounds in a week, I'm exaggerating, where I struggle to lose a half a pound. But our bodies are not the same. Men and women lose weight at a different, in a different way. I shouldn't have said different way. Men and women lose weight at a different rate. So you don't know. You don't know what people have done to get there. Anyway, comparison is the thief of joy. And don't compare yourself to other people. It's in the Word. Anyway, have a great day, y'all. Be blessed.